Hey, I'm Pat. In this video, we'll be going over creating instances. So we'll be going over a few methods of making instances, as well as some things you can do with making instances, you know, the benefits of doing it different ways and everything like that. So we're going to instantly go into it and we're going to make a script. And in our script, we're going to make a new instance. We're going to make a part. So we're going to make a variable called part. I don't know why my voice is like, my throat's dying. I don't know what's the problem, but we used the instance library, and the only function it actually has really is new. So we use .new, and this allows us to create a new instance. And if the first argument, of course, is a string, and that's the type of instance we're creating. So you can see we can create any kind of instance we want. We're just going to make a part for now. And this does actually take a second parameter, which would be the parent. But using a second argument is actually very like performance, like there's a big difference in performance. It's actually pretty bad. Well, I don't know how bad it really is, but all I know is there's kind of quite a big difference between setting the parent with the second argument and just manually setting it after. So when you create an instance, its parent is nil, so it doesn't have a parent until you give it a parent. So we gotta set its parent. We're gonna make it workspace, I guess, right? And we'll make it anchored. And just so you know that it's from the script, we can make a random color. Well, that was quite a... Alright, I guess I really like red. Alright, here's purple. And we got errors because I don't know what I'm doing. What? Oh. What am I doing, bro? Alright, it's okay. I just had a mental breakdown, but we're fine now. So we're gonna go ahead and test it, and we'll see that a part magically spawns in. Actually, we won't see it because we didn't set its position, but if we move this out of the way, there you can see our part. Because its position by default is always going to be 0, 0, 0, so usually you're gonna want to set its position as well, but that's its position for now. Or where that's Instance.new, right? So another way you can think of, you know, instead of manually setting all the parts properties, we can have a part already made, pretty much, with all of our properties. So we're going to give it a color. I'm just going to make it blue, and then we'll make it smooth plastic, whatever. And what we'll do now is we'll just kind of put it like all the way up here. You can hardly even see it. We can actually make it, if we go into the properties, we can make it like really high up. And now you can't really see it anymore, but it's kind of still here. And what happens is now we can just clone the part and position it anywhere in workspace, because it's so every instance has a method called clone, which lets you like duplicate it, and it just returns like the duplicated instance. So we can take this part and now we can set its parent to workspace, because it doesn't have a parent still, even if you use clone. And then we'll give it a new position because it's in workspace, and we need to give it a different position because its position is like 1 billion or whatever I set it to, right? So we'll give it a y of 2, x5. Don't worry about the other one. So this way we don't have to go through it and manually set all of its different properties, as well as it's already well, I guess that doesn't matter, but you know, you don't have to manually set all of its properties, which can be a lot cleaner in your scripts and also save you kind of some performance in as far as script execution time, how fast the script runs, right? I forgot to anchor it and I just moved it on accident, but you can see it created our part as soon as we played the game, and our other one is still up there. You can actually kind of see it up there. It's just, oh, it's falling, that's why, because I didn't anchor it, but it's fine. So now we can also, well, I guess we'll use this script. So what we can do also is make a leaderstats script with using Instance.new. So what a leaderstats script is, I'm sure you've seen it. It's like in games where you see people have like, you know, up by their username there's coins or money or points, you know, kills, deaths, whatever. I don't know how to really explain it, but you get the idea. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a player added event, and that lets us detect when a player joins the game. So we're going to get the player service, which has the player added event, and then we can connect it to our function. And our player added event gives us, it returns the player instance that joined. So whatever player that joined, it gives us as the first parameter here. So that way we know which player joined and we can, you know, use them. And what we have to do is create a leaderstats folder. So we're going to call it lstats. You can call it whatever you want. Usually if you're following somebody, like, especially like this, you know, you're kind of following a tutorial at this point because I'm kind of showing you how to make the leaderstat script, but usually it's a good idea to make like variables different names and things like that, so you feel like you have a good understanding better of what's going on. Also, a good thing to do is comment every line and kind of explaining your comment, like what's going on. So if you don't remember, commenting is just 2 dashes, and I highly recommend as a beginner, you know, you comment every line and kind of explain, because if you don't know what every line of your script is doing, then you probably shouldn't be using that code, because you should be knowing like what you're writing, what your script does. If you don't have a full understanding, then you should try and learn what that script does properly, right? Or fully understand it. So we're going to set its name, and its name actually has to be leaderstats. This is how Roblox knows that this is your leaderstats folder, is with you naming it leaderstats. And it also has to be parented to the player. That's so what Roblox does is it looks for a folder called leaderstats under player, and that's how it knows to add leader stats to your game, pretty much. So we'll make a pretty much like a coins variable, and what we can do is we can create an instance value. So what is an instance value? So an instance value is basically just an instance that holds a value. It's pretty much a variable, but an instance instead. So I'm gonna add an int value to workspace just for like showing you it, right? And you can look and you can see it has a value property. That's where its value will be stored. So we can access the instance value, and we can get its value to get like its value, right? So we can access that from any script, which allows us to always read that value pretty much. And Roblox uses instance values to create leader stats. So you can use a bunch of different instance values. There's number values, there's string values, there's bool values, you know, all the data types as values. You can even store instance in instance value. Oh my god. You can even store instances inside of instance values, right? Which is kind of useful. I don't really recommend using instance values outside of leader stats because there's better ways than using instance values, but you don't know any of them yet. So just for this video, obviously we're using instance values, and you have to use instance values for leader stats. So we're gonna make a coins instance value, and we're gonna make it an int value, which means that it can only hold whole numbers. And we're gonna make its name coins. And its name will matter because that's what shows up on the leaderboard. That the category's name will be based off of the instance value's name. And then we had to parent it to the folder, parent it to our leaderstats folder, so that way Roblox knows that the value is supposed to be a leader stat because it's under the leader stat folder, right? And you don't have to give it a default value because it's already kind of defaulted to 0, but we'll give it a default value anyways. And you'll see once we play the game now. Oh, I forgot my equal sign again. I don't know why I keep forgetting an equal sign. Alright, so all I forgot there was just an equal sign. You gotta make sure you make the property, use the equal sign to set properties. And now you can see up in the top right hand corner we actually have a leader stats, a leader stat called coins, and we have no money because we're poor, but you get it. Okay, that part is literally freaking out. We're just gonna remove that. Alright. Oh wait, one more thing I wanted to show you. So once we're in the game and we have our leader stats, you can look underneath the player service and you can find your player, right? And then you can go under your player and you can see the leader stats folder that we created. And under there is the instance value we created with our value. We can actually make this like 1,000 or something, and you can see it updates there. Just as expected, right? So if we wanted to say like change a player's score when they click a part or something, we can manipulate it by accessing, you know, their player instance and then going into the folder and changing the value property of the instance value. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make a click detector part, and we're going to make a script. And pretty much what we're going to do is whenever the player clicks this part, we're going to give them score or coins, I guess, right? So all we gotta do is I'm gonna actually make a variable for a part, and we're gonna do take our click detector and listen on the mouse click event. And if you remember, our click detector actually, or the mouse click event, gives us the player instance that clicked or triggered the event. So that's how we're gonna be able to access our player's leader stats, because the player leader stats folder is it's under the player. And alright, so we're gonna access it player.leader stats, not local ID. I don't know what I'm doing, I can't spell, and we have to spell it the same way that we named it, obviously, and we do that coins, and then we have to change the value property. Coins is an instance, right? Sometimes people try and like change coins as if it's a variable, but it's an instance. It's just an instance value, but we had to change its value property, and we can increment it by like 1 or something. So now when we press play, all right, you see we have our part here. Whenever we click it, our coins goes up by 1, just as we expected it to, right? Now something I want to go over is math.random. So Roblox Studio has a library called math, which has a bunch of useful math functions, as you would assume, right? As pi, sin, cos, tan, atan, ace, cos, whatever, floor, round, bunch of useful stuff. But one of the important ones really is random, which allows you to get a random number between 2 numbers. So you can actually give it, you know, the first argument would be the minimum number, and then the maximum would be the second argument, and it'll include both of these numbers. And when it's searching for a random number, it only does it with whole numbers though, so don't expect it to give you decimals. It won't. But you can say if you want to get like a decimal under 1 or something, you could like divide your math.random number by like 100 to, you know, make it a decimal if you wanted to. But when we click play now, you'll see when we click on the button, now it gives us a random amount of coins each time we click it, which is kind of cool. And we can also not give it, we can only give it 1 argument. We can do that, and its default minimum will be 1. So the 1 argument it will take will be the max. So you can give it just 15, and it'll do 1 through 15, and you see it works just the same, right? So that's how you use the math.random, right? Not too complicated, pretty simple, right? That's how leader stats work as well. Usually you want to name your scripts, so we're just going to name the script coins giver script or something, some kind of name that makes sense. So now what I want you to do is basically make a script, and what this script will do is at the start of the game, it'll create like a bunch of parts, kind of like this, right? And the parts will have click detectors, and the parts will have a random position. Obviously don't make their position like crazy far away, and make them like kind of close. And I recommend really not changing the Y value too much, or else it's going to be kind of hard to get to the parts. But basically what these parts are is they have, you know, click detectors in them, and whenever you click on them, it'll give you a random score, and then yeah, it'll give you a random score, because I forgot to go over the other thing what I wanted to go over, but you know, it's not too important, so we're not going to worry about it. But it gives you a random score pretty much. So there's a bunch of parts that are randomly positioned in the workspace, and once you have to kind of like run over to them and click them, and then you get some coins. Right, not too complicated. That's what I want you to do, and I recommend pausing the video, trying to make it on your own. If you can't, it's okay, because I'm going to go over how I would do it in a few seconds. So I'm going to make a script, and we're going to call it I don't know what to even call it. We're just going to leave it a default name. It doesn't matter too much, right? But what we're going to do is I'm actually going to take this part and I'm going to put it under the script. This isn't necessarily like good practice. Usually you want to like store it somewhere in replicated storage or server storage or something, but as a script it doesn't make too much difference, so I'm just going to put it there for now. And what we'll do is we'll make a reference to a part, and what we're going to use is a for loop, which will allow us to pretty much create a bunch of different parts quickly without, you know, copy and pasting a bunch of code, which would be really messy. And we're gonna make like 6 parts. I don't know if that might make only 5 or 6, I don't really care. But we're gonna take our part, we're gonna clone it, and then we're gonna set its position. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use we're gonna set its Y to 1.5. Let's do that. And then its X will be a random number, and we'll do -15 to 15, and we'll do the same for the Z. And then we gotta parent it to our workspace. Parent, if I can, you know, think properly. And then once we play it, you'll see it doesn't work because I don't know what I'm doing. I forgot .new. Alright, I don't know why I'm making such stupid mistakes, right? But it's fine. It's fine. It makes sense. So now you can see we got one part. What the hell? Huh? Why did it only make one part? Oh, because I'm stupid. Forgot to store the new part in a variable. So I was just manipulating the part that was under the script. I'm really not thinking straight today. But now you can see it worked kind of like how we intended to. And you can see we actually got like a double spawn here with 2 of them. I don't know why they're all over here. They really shouldn't be, but you can see we can go up to each one of them. We can kind of click it. If we really wanted to, we can make the distance kind of bigger. We could do like 40 to make them a little bit more spread out so they're not all like right next to each other. Now you can see they're kind of spread out a little bit better, and we can kind of run around to them and click them and get our coins or whatever. So that's how you do that. Not too complicated really. I hope this video helped you understand creating instances in leaderstats. I think leaderstats is kind of a very beginner thing that a lot of beginners try this out, and some of them really kind of struggle with it. So I hope this video might have helped clear up some confusion with that. Anyways, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.